previously, my parents and I felt we had reached the culmination of our quest. Inspired by our encounters with the handsome Leo in 2011, we devote a lot of time to observe the Canada lynx. We avoid chasing two hares at once, but when chance places the Manitous in our path, we are delighted to find them again. The news is good in the land of the wolf. White-Paws is expecting a fourth litter. Her companion Hiawatha takes on the appearance of a patriarch among his family. The spring molt does not detract from our pleasure in observing the pack. At 2 years old, our dear Robin is still present. We also saw the young Wawa, Tamara, and the magnificent Shadow. The dead-end clearing is very lively, especially before the Manitous disperse for the night. White-Paws still hunts beaver with remarkable skill. These rodents are very active at this time of the year. The further they are from the water, the more vulnerable they are. The mother wolf often teams up with her daughter Tamara. By working together, they increase their chances of surprising prey. Coming across the wolves when we are not looking for them is a sweet irony. For example, yesterday we were in the valley of the Moose with the Canada lynx when suddenly a wolf appeared. Cautiously, the big cat went to take cover. As luck would have it, seeing Anouk again filled us with joy. The young wolf is so fearless that we were able to follow her on foot and film her. Anouk did not notice the American woodcock, perfectly camouflaged in its environment. As soon as the wolf moved away, the birds resumed their activities. The woodcock and the northern flicker find their food in the ground. With its long beak, the woodcock catches earthworms. The woodpecker plunges its tongue into the ant nests and feasts on them. If anyone had seen us, They would have thought we were walking with a dog. Anouk walked slowly, by adapting her stride to ours. She stayed close to us, an unusual behavior for a wolf. The situation was like a dream. It was time to return to our vehicle before dark. Anouk escorted us to the road. When I think back to this walk with the young wolf, these words from the wolf song of our friend Paul Allaire come back to me. Ma ingen ni wichi na, which means I go with the wolf. I walk with the wolf. Monique, Reynald, and I really walked with Anouk. It was a profound experience that only Babalu had offered us before her at the beginning of our quest. Figuratively speaking, we walk with the wolves every day, by painting them and producing this web series, also by supporting wolf protection and reintroduction projects. But let's go back to spring 2012. With Anouk, we were in for more surprises. Appearing out of nowhere, Anouk has just scared the beaver we have been watching for a while. She dares to venture between us and the pond and passes in the shadow of our vehicle as if we were not there. At first glance, her behavior does not seem to make sense. The beavers are watching her, so she has no chance of catching one. But Anouk probably has a good reason to show up. What if it was a diversion? A second wolf. Assuming there is a plan, Tamara's lack of discretion has just doomed it to failure. This male ruffed grouse drums to signal his presence and attract a female. It is more like a wolf who invites herself into his nuptial undergrowth. And not just anyone. It is Anouk. This time again, Anouk teams up with her sister Tamara. Hares abound. Being two, they have a better chance of capturing one. But no hunt is easy, even for a duo of wolves. Thanks to evolution, prey species stay one step ahead of their predator, ensuring the survival of all inhabitants of the land of the wolf. Years with high hair density are ideal for observing the Canada lynx. In the spring of 2012, we kept watch for hours in suitable areas that offered a fairly wide field of vision. An old forest road in the Muskigs region met the needs of the filming. Lynx or wolf, we are delighted when one of them appears in front of the camera, as Shadow does. It would be surprising if he managed to catch a hare. A third player appears. The porcupine's eyesight is not very good. It walks confidently, protected by the thousands of quills covering its body. In the land of the wolf, everyone knows it's best to give way to this big male porcupine. The rodent suspects an intruder. He then marks his territory by leaving his scent on the vegetation. Nothing to reassure Shadow, who wanted to take this path. The wolf will not be so foolish as to attack this ball of quills that is walking towards him with such determined steps. But he hesitates between his curiosity and his instinct, which warns him. Going back is a bad idea. Mr. Porcupine finally realizes he was heading straight into the lion's den. His defensive stance puts Shadow off once and for all. Everyone goes in the opposite direction. In 2012, our beaver friends the Chubbies had already been living in the lodge they had built in the bay next to our camp for several years. Such a long occupation testified to the wealth of their territory. But over time, edible trees and shrubs had become scarce near the shore. There is a boundary that beavers refuse to cross, even to expand their worksite in the forest, far from the shore. It is a matter of safety for them, especially in the land of the wolf. The patriarch had opened new worksites at the other end of the lake. We understood perfectly what that meant. The Chubbies were going to move. That made us really sad. Nothing would be the same without their presence near the camp. Since our main quest, that of the wolf, had reached its peak in 2011, the idea of our own departure was slowly making its way into our minds, and that, despite the rebellion in our hearts that had so many roots in these places. Leave? Yes, but not right away. Not before White-Paws and her family themselves closed the door on their world. And, above all, not before having learned to know better the most secretive of the inhabitants of this wild region, the Canada lynx. Interesting observations of black bears, wolves and Canada lynxes have been occurring since the beginning of May. Lying in wait in the middle of a clearing, this female lynx is on the lookout for her favorite prey. Finally, a hare within her reach. She must approach without making any noise. The lynx stops as soon as her prey seems on the lookout. It failed, possibly because of the alarm calls of the white-throated sparrow, which alerted her prey. Disappointed, the lynx pulls herself together. After all, there are other hares nearby. With a little patience and perseverance, she will achieve her goal. What a chance to be able to admire this lynx on the hunt. Failed again. The lynx's attention now turns to the marsh, which is teeming with life. the lynx leaves. But we decide to stay to observe the moose and the pair of common mergansers. This behavior is a prelude to mating. Tamara. We don't know how long the young wolf has been there. A moose stuck in the mud excites the predatory instinct of any wolf. After this eventful day, it started to get hot. Too hot for wildlife observation. We no longer saw lynxes, wolves, and moose because they had adopted nocturnal habits like in summer. So, we left the land of the wolf for a few months. When we returned in September, the Manitous were regularly moving on the old roads of the Muskegs region. Of all the family members, Tamara was the one we saw most often. All the young in the new litter seemed very shy. As far as we know, there were only 3 of them, a really small number compared to the 2 previous litters, where White-Paws, Hiawatha, and the rest of the pack had raised 7 wolf pups. When we had the privilege of observing the patriarch, we held our breath. That fall, the most beautiful of the Manitous was certainly Shadow. Aged 1.5, he often accompanied his father on his rounds of the territory. The Manitous probably had a carcass nearby. Perhaps this explained why the leader of the pack was marking the site so insistently. And apparently, we were not the only ones surprised by Hiawatha's performance. This good, big wolf was getting old. That was the last time we saw him. In the fall of 2012, our observations did not allow us to know if Robin, Anouk, and even White-Paws were still there. We had to face the facts. The door to the world of wolves was closing. The following year, in 2013, the Manitous had changed leaders without us knowing which pair had replaced White-Paws and Hiawatha. The pack was once again composed of spirits, elusive ghosts almost impossible to see. The wolves we loved and followed for years were gone. As a result, we felt lost, orphaned and bereaved. For us, it was inconceivable that nothing of them remained within the new Manitous. The legacy of White-Paws and Hiawatha could not have been erased in a single winter. After several months of watching for the lynx, an encounter in October brought us immense consolation. When the wolf overcame her fear, we recognized Tamara. While I was watching her, I understood that White-Paws, Hiawatha, and all the elders of the Manitous Pack lived inside her. Their blood flowed through her veins. The same courage and thirst for life made her heart beat. Tamara was the heiress of a great dynasty. The mission of succeeding her mother and passing on her genes had been entrusted to her by nature. We crossed paths with her a few times in the following years, without learning much about her partner or their family. Monique, Reynald, and I were ready to begin a new phase, fulfilling the promise we made to White-Paws by dedicating ourselves primarily to the defense of wolves and the wild world. In 2018, my parents and I, the web series production team as well as some close friends, got together for a few days to talk with our friend Paul Allaire, the man to whom we owe our years of happiness and discovery in the land of the wolf. Together, we discussed the wisdom of First Nations, the future of nature and humanity.
If we follow the path that does not destroy, the prophets say that there will be an eighth fire that will be lit.
I know many of you would have loved to be there. I am pleased to announce that we will be sharing the highlights of this wonderful encounter, in addition to the web series. I look forward to seeing you in 2026 to discover the surprising aspects of our adventure in the land of the wolf.
Mahingen with